And I had so many names. Like I picked whatever name I felt like calling myself. I would just say, hey, that's my name. Like
Oh, yeah.
when I was in seventh grade, I had like six periods. I had a different name for every period.
I love it. Episode 2: The Language of Belonging. This episode is brought to you by GoldTree Co, where we believe wealth is more than numbers, it's confidence, freedom, and legacy. A few years ago, I started asking myself a different question. Instead of what if it goes wrong, I began asking, what if it works out? That shift led me to financial learning and finding a community of women investors who are quietly building wealth through real estate syndication. Something I didn't even know was possible for everyday people like us. Within 2 years, I will earn over $350,000 in profit, more than my corporate salary, by learning how to make my money work for me. Now I help others do the same. Through the GoldTree Co Investor Circle, you'll learn how to access exclusive, vetted deals, create passive income, and invest in your future with purpose. If you're ready to start rewriting your money story and build real wealth with impact, drop wealth in the comments or visit goldtreeco.com to learn more. Because financial freedom isn't just for the few, it's for you. Hi, my name is Lei Lei Phokham Sengchanthalangsy. I'm a refugee from Laos, a mother, a biotech leader, and now podcast host and soon to be author. My life began with the crossing of the Mekong River, carrying silence that shaped much of who I became. For years, I tried to succeed in systems not built for me, carrying the weight of family sacrifice, cultural duty, and unspoken stories. This podcast, GoldTree Co, presents Rooted and Becoming, is my offering, a place to break the silence to honor the resilience we inherited, and to create a space where our stories can heal, inspire, and transform. The podcast is the entry point. It gives you stories and conversations that opens doors in your heart. Each episode over the next 12 months is like a mirror reflecting back the struggles and strengths that so many of us share. But I didn't want to stop at storytelling. That's why I created companion worksheets and tools. Pause this video and download your free copy of the companion worksheet now before we begin. After you listen, you can take those reflections deeper, writing exercises, prompts, and practices that help you connect the story to your own life. After each episode, I host a live community Q&A circle where we share more stories in a safe space. I'll post those details soon, so be sure to click subscribe for more details. The Rooted and Becoming podcast isn't just something you consume, it becomes something you practice. Month by month, you're not only listening to transformation, you're living it. And over time, these small acts, journaling, reflection, sharing with community, become stepping stones toward healing, self-worth, and a sense of belonging that is rooted and becoming resilient and lasting. Before we begin, I want to invite all of us, myself, my guests, and you listening, to take a moment to arrive fully in this space. If it feels comfortable, close your eyes or soften your gaze. Let's take a deep breath together. In through the nose and out through the mouth. Again, inhale, filling your lungs with presence. And exhale, releasing whatever you carried here that no longer serves you. One more time. Inhaling with strength. Exhaling heaviness. This is our space for healing and understanding. A space where silence is met with compassion, where truth is honored without judgment, and where every story matters. As we begin this conversation, may we carry the intention of listening deeply, speaking honestly, and remembering that even in the hardest truths, there is hope and possibility. Thank you for sharing this moment with us. Now let's begin. Today, I have the joy of welcoming someone very special, my cousin, Faith Stevens, whose story beautifully embodies the heart of this month's theme, the language of belonging. Faith came to the United States as a refugee from Laos, and like many of us, learned early that language could be both a barrier and a bridge. Over the years, she transformed that challenge into her life's purpose. For more than 2 decades, she's been an educator, teaching since 2001, and currently serves as a UTK Spanish Immersion teacher, where she nurtures a new generation to become not only bilingual, but biliterate and culturally curious. Faith is also a proud mother of 4, one of whom attends the Language Academy, and wife to a recently retired teacher. Her love of music shines through everything she does. She believes every child deserves not only to listen to music, but to make it, and to find their rhythm, their voice, and their sense of belonging in the world. Recently, Faith was honored by Classics for Kids for her outstanding contributions to education and exposing students to classical music, a recognition that speaks to her deep commitment to empowering students through culture, language, and creativity. What I love most about Faith is that she leads with the heart of someone who knows what it feels like to find home in a new language and to help others do the same. Faith, welcome to GoldTree Co's Rooted and Becoming podcast. It's such an honor to have you here as we explore how language connects us to our ancestors, our students, and to ourselves. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you, Lili.
Oh, thank you. Oh my goodness. I'm super excited to have you join us today. Tell me this award, Classics for Kids. Tell me about you are one of the unsung heroes in music and education. Can you tell me a little bit more about that award?
I honestly was really surprised that I was being given an award. What I've been doing for years is planning field trips. And I don't know if a lot of us know that teachers aren't expected to plan field trips. For years now, like my passion, one of my passions is to plan field trips for my students. And one of those field trips that I've consistently worked with for many years is the Classics for Kids program. And they do an amazing job of bringing classical music to the underprivileged students. They give us a bus grant every year. A lot of the times my students go and they just love it. And my hope and dream is that they're exposed to language, first of all, because they put on concerts like last year when they did like music from Puerto Rico, right? And my students are language immersion students. And so it's really cool that they get to like learn the Spanish and then go and like listen to Spanish music in an orchestra setting, right?
I absolutely love it. And I am excited that they honored you. I started grade school pretty much in the US as a refugee child here. And the impact that my teachers have had on me, and especially in grade school, and exposing me to things that I would not have gotten at home. I can go on and on with the list of things, including like music, classical, whatever genres. And so I think it's so valuable, like what you're doing, what teachers do for kids. So thank you so much. Now, I want to get back to one of the notes or details in the intro around being a UTK Spanish immersion teacher. Can you walk me through what does that mean to you, and what inspired you to become a UTK Spanish immersion teacher? I'd love to understand that.
Yay. I love the question. Okay, so it's first of all, it's my passion. Like language is something I really love. I started teaching, like in 2001, like I said. By that point, I had already done a lot of Spanish. I went to Spain for 4 months. I studied Spanish in college, but I think I should go back with my whole Spanish thing all the way to middle school and high school. So let's go back to how Lili, my cousin, inspired me you were the first memories of Spanish. We were just hanging out in my living room. So I remember we were listening to music and you were like translating it for me. And it was a Spanish song. And I didn't know anything yet. We were like in middle school. I hadn't taken Spanish yet at this point. And I thought you were so cool. I'm like, oh, she's so cool. She likes, she knows Spanish. Another memory I have of Spanish is my mom. My mom was trying to learn English, but she accidentally signed up for a Spanish class. It was accidental. Like she didn't know. She thought she was going to learn English. Like I was a third grader and we would go to class with her. So we would learn along with her, but she was the one that was like learning it, right? And I just became interested in it after that because my mom started to use the Spanish, that little that she know. Another time I was in high school and I was in the library and I was talking to her about how fluent she was. Her name was Bu, which means crab, right? She was another Laotian girl that I found really fantastic too, that she was also taking on Spanish. And so after that, I went to college, and that's what I did. I just kept on taking Spanish classes. It's not easy, right? Learning a language, it's not easy because you don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to sound stupid, especially when you start later in life. It wasn't until I came back from Spain, I started doing substitute teaching and I would be called to go work in the Spanish Immersion classes. And I think that that's where it all started, where I was like, okay, I wonder if I can do this. First of all, I'm Laotian. I'm not somebody who you see and you go, oh, she speaks Spanish. So I definitely was like, I want to do this because I really love it. So then I started going to school for it. I did this program called Becca. It's a bilingual credentialing alternative. And I taught third grade in Spanish. I started my teaching career teaching first in Spanish. I left that school and then started to teach in English. When my daughter was born, I decided to take a 40% contract where I only worked 2 days a week. But I was teaching in English those 40%. And then an opportunity came up called Gauge. And they were starting up a brand new program. And so I was the first immersion teacher at that school that started up the program. Ever since then, that's all I've been doing is teaching Spanish. I've been teaching kindergarten about 10 years, and that's 90% Spanish. You immerse them. The goal is they will learn it. I love it. Like, I know it's hard, but eventually when you say get in line in Spanish, they now can get in line. So cool. And how amazing, as I'm saying this, how amazing if we could have like a Lao immersion program.
Wouldn't that be, sign me up. Sign me up.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
I love that the school system is offering it. Growing up, we didn't have that much exposure. How diverse are the classes?
Oh, the student background is basically everyone because my program is called dual language immersion. Ideally, half of my students should be coming from a Spanish speaking home. And then the other half doesn't come from a Spanish speaking home. Like the Spanish speakers will learn the English from the English speakers and vice versa. That's
wonderful. Faith, I wanted to ask you, did you ever feel silence when coming to America and learning English?
I remember it took a long time to learn English. I remember in kindergarten, so many kids in my classroom were Laotian. I didn't really speak English at all. I remember my best friend, Dawn. Dawn is still my friend to this day. Back at that time when we were refugees, they didn't consider age. If you looked like you were a certain age or you didn't have the language, they would clump us all together. I was like 6 and my friend was like 9. And I remember the teacher gave her a blank piece of paper, right? She was writing beautiful Lao words. I was like admiring her writing. And I remember the teacher coming over and saying, no Lao, only English. The teachers were doing what they were probably told to do, and which is assimilate everybody and have everybody learn English. But it's the first time it felt kind of like, oh, I can't speak my language. I can't show my language. I remember that stuck with me. I'm 6 years old. You know what I mean? Like, because now we're finding out that social emotional is very important, right? Like
Mhm.
your social emotional mental health, it's very important that we need to develop that, and we need to foster, having students feel good about themselves, or just
Right.
people in general just feel good about themselves. And so as a teacher, putting myself in that position as an educator, first of all, teaching is hard. A lot of what we are told to do, we're told to do them. We have curriculums we have to teach. There's programs that we have to follow. In hindsight, maybe this teacher was being told, don't allow the kids to speak English. However, if it were me, being a refugee myself and being an educator of students who are just coming into the country, and I know their language, if I were the teacher, I would speak to them in Lao, right? Just to have them have this sense of belonging, just like you had said, just to feel like they belong, to feel heard, to have some self esteem and a reason to keep going, right? If I were a teacher that couldn't speak the language of the students, knowing what I know now in 2025 about social emotional health, I would encourage them to tap into their own creativity and allow them to be able to speak their language and write in the beautiful Lao language. Comparing it to the program that I'm in, I had to really think about this, because the program that I'm in is all about stick to the target language 100% of the time, because your goal is to have the kids coming out speaking Spanish.
Mhm.
And therefore, I'm very black and white when it comes to that. I'm like, nope, I'm only speaking Spanish.
Mhm.
I've seen it work. I have seen students from kindergarten at the end of the year, they're speaking Spanish. Therefore, I believe in it, but it made me think, like when I was comparing it to my experience as a first grader with my friend, and then comparing it with my students who do struggle because they come in not speaking Spanish. I had to think about that. Like as we
Mhm.
were talking, I had to think about, am I doing the right thing by them? But at the same time, it is my program and this is what I'm told to do. It's a complicated
It
question.
is a complicated question, and perhaps it's just finding another way to acknowledge it and to celebrate it, but still focus, like you said, focus on what the goals and the objectives are.
I'm looking back now, and we don't have the resources that we have now. There's this author that wrote, I don't know if you've read the book, it's called My Mom Eats Fried Grasshoppers. I just met the author at the boat festival, Mrs. Bender, and she wrote this book, and she does presentations, she goes to schools. So she is a Lao author who wrote a
Yeah.
children's book with beautiful illustrations. We got to meet the personaje, or the character that was in her book. It was her daughter. So that would have been cool, right? If the teacher would have read Miss Bender's book, to
Yeah.
us, and we can hear the Lao names, right? Like Mali is her daughter's name, the flower
Uh-huh.
Mali. In her book, she teaches a lot of Lao words. And
Mhm.
that would have been cool, right? I actually bought a book for my classroom
Oh,
um,
nice.
that I'm going to translate into Spanish. Just having talked about this now, we just came up with a solution, didn't we, cousin?
I love it. I love it.
Representation matters.
It does. Diversity matters.
It really, really does.
Thank you so much for that. And I look forward to hearing more stories from your classes and your experiences. And thank you for your service and education. You are laying the foundation for the future. So, Faith, I'd like to ask you, who or what have inspired you to reconnect with language and culture, and to really promote language and culture? I would love to hear from you on that.
As far as Lao mentors, there's two for sure that comes up in my mind. And the biggest mentor that I had growing up was Lung Bun Hong Komalat. And he was somebody that was a very integral part of the Lao culture, or the Lao community in San Diego. He worked for San Diego Unified. I worked for San Diego Unified. He was a community resource. for the Laotians, I believe, or other, other ethnicities that needed help, most likely refugees. But one of the things that I remembered about him was, especially in my teenage years, when things were really hard. There's so many things that you're dealing with, right? Like, and your media is, everybody is being hugged by their parents. They talk to their parents. The parents tell their kids they love them. And then you are at home and your parents love you, but they don't hug you and they don't tell you they love you because that's not a part of their culture. But they show you they love you by going to work and by providing for you.
Right.
But growing up in these two different cultures, there's a lot of confusion and there's a lot of like, low self-esteem. And a lot of times I didn't feel like I was being supported, but I just didn't know any better. Like as a 51-year-old, I can see the distinction now, right? That my parents love me. That's the way that they knew how to love me. I struggled a lot with that growing up. I don't know. Did you? Did you have the same kind of experiences?
Absolutely. I 100% resonate. I remember saying I love you to my parents because I learned and heard friends say I love you to their parents. It was awkward. It was very awkward. Growing up, we just did not share that, and it definitely led to low self-esteem. And I have other siblings, and it just impacts us all differently. My father has passed, but with my mom, she gets the adoration from her grandchildren. So you see that change with the generations, the younger generations. I think now she's comfortable with expressing love now.
It's difficult for them because they didn't grow up that way.
No.
They also didn't know, right? Because they weren't educated. Like what my parents weren't educated. They didn't have a lot of resources. So they didn't talk to us about college. Say I wanted to take guitar lessons, right? But my parents didn't know like how to help me. So this is where Lung Bun Hong comes in. And he probably didn't even know that he's impacted me in so many different ways, but he would always be involved with the youth. He wanted the best for us and he wanted us to do well in life, and he wanted us to go to college, and he wanted us to be more than just survivors, right? I remember specifically one day, I don't even know how it happened, but he got word that I wanted to learn guitar. And so he picks me up and he takes me to an office building of somebody he knows. And the man comes out with a guitar and he gives me a little guitar lesson.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Like these are core memories that I have, right? Lung Bun Hong took the time to make sure that I got to experience something that I wanted to do. Like he cared about me. He cared about the youth of San Diego. Years later, I got my first teaching contract. He was already at the district working, and I saw him, and he was the first person I saw after I signed my contract. And we didn't plan to meet each other. I just happened to see him, and I ran into him. I'm like, Lung Hong, I just signed my contract, and I'm sure he doesn't remember, but I sure do. Later on, as I got older and I was in teaching for a little bit, we worked together again as volunteers for the Lao community. And that's when I started teaching Lao school, and he was involved with that as well. One of the first Lao community members who really made me feel seen and cared for. And it makes a difference.
Thank goodness for him, for being more than just like a translator. Sounds like he's a bit of a dream maker. I recall you shared an article. It was written about Lao, Cambodian, Vietnamese gangs in San Diego, because I had experiences, and I hope you don't mind that I bring it up.
Oh, please share.
As refugees and immigrants, when there is that disconnect, you tend to gravitate to people who you do feel like you belong with. Of course, we saw that it led to unfortunate violence. In Escondido, I think there was one night we had calls. We had threats about gang violence. And I just recall having to duck down even in our own home in case, people drive by and shoot. I just felt like there was a lot of that sort of violence. Since we're talking about the language of belonging, and oftentimes when you get silenced, I feel like it can lead down an unwanted path. Did that impact your childhood and identity growing up and the choices that you made?
Around eighth grade was when all of this was happening for me. So 88 was when all of that gang related stuff was happening. I actually had a cousin, he died of a gang violence, and just it's senseless. It was all senseless. That definitely was around me. Prior to that, I was interested in it. Like I was interested in joining a gang, starting a gang. I just remember the feelings. I can tell you the feelings of why I wanted to belong to a gang. The feeling of belonging, the feeling that somebody's got your back no matter what. But like
Yeah.
in hindsight, you don't choose violence. Like you never choose violence. And that was the best thing. It doesn't matter like if you were told you're a coward. That was my wanting to belong. Did you ever try to start a gang?
Not like an official, but we just had like an official, we just had, how you have cliques or
Yeah.
groups, but I definitely went through a phase, like the almost like new wave goth-ish. It made me feel like I belonged though, doing that.
We all
And
just want to belong.
what I experienced more was people making fun of my name, culturally being different, physically looking different and being different.
Mm-hmm.
Those are probably like the biggest things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, whenever roll call would come around and then my name would come up, I just knew like my body would already start to like feel anxiety, like, oh, they're gonna say it wrong, or they're gonna, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
so sometimes I would kind of prematurely, right? I knew it was coming, and I would just raise my hand because when they do roll call and you say here, I'm like, that's
Mm-hmm.
me.
Phokham is your name. Mine was
Mhm.
Putavong. Yeah, I was ashamed, right, of my name because people didn't say it right or whatever. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go by an American name, right?
Uh-huh.
And I had so many names. Like I picked whatever name I felt like calling myself. I would just say, hey, that's my name. Like
Oh, yeah.
when I was in seventh grade, I had like 6 periods. I had a different name for every period.
I love it.
And then I went back to Putavong, right? But they never could say it right. Like they
Yeah,
could, and so that was the one thing that when I became a teacher that I
yeah.
vowed to do. I think it's important that people get our names right. My students and my staff, or the staff, are going to call me by my correct name, and they're going to call me Miss Sulinton. And if they can't do it, I'm going to show them how to do it. So I think that instead of changing
Mhm.
for the convenience of others, we need to show them and we need to teach them how
Yes.
we want to be called. And that's one way that I think that we don't silence ourselves. I did change my name from Putavong to Faith, but I do regret it. I'm not gonna lie. I do regret it.
Really? You
Yes.
regret faith?
It could have just been an addition. And I often think about going back to that, like to go back to Putavong. It's not that
Yeah,
hard.
yeah, it's not that hard.
Uh-uh.
Yeah, it's just taking a step back and helping people understand. Lily was actually misspelled. The flower, lily,
Mhm.
lily. We misspelled it. It's actually when I naturalized, I took Pocum as my middle name and then Lily as my first name. Yeah.
Love it.
Say your name once more. Let's highlight it. Let's celebrate it. Say your name again for everyone listening.
Putavong.
Were there were there messages about assimilation and speaking differently, like here in the US?
I know that when I started to speak like the English language, right? I
Mhm.
do remember my own Lao people telling me, stop trying to speak English, you sound stupid. I remember feeling ashamed that, that they're telling me I should stop talking altogether. I do remember some boys as I was walking back to class in second grade, and they weren't Lao, but they told me, go back to your own country. They're kids. They're probably hearing stuff, right, from adults. And so they're saying things. Those things stuck with me. Not being able to communicate was difficult. I remember one day that my mom was running to send caramels during Halloween for my first grade class. And I was trying to tell my teacher, my mom sent caramels to share with the class. And I didn't know how to tell her. So I just like held it up and tried to show her. And she made me put it away. And so then I didn't get to share it. And because I couldn't communicate. And so those are some of the things that have stuck with me,
How did that impact your like identity and the feeling of like belonging?
It was a feeling that it gave me, right? Like the feeling of like, I can't communicate, like I can't, and I'm sure that drove me to continue to learn, right? And like, so that I could communicate.
And look at you now, an educator, not only speaking Lao and English, but Spanish. I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. What helped you like to begin reclaiming your voice and cultural roots? Were there things that you created, tools or practices or experiences that you can share that help with for folks who are listening? There are quite a few folks who've been displaced, folks being displaced from their countries, just taking the platform to hopefully help them as well in their experience. Can you share like what could help possibly reclaim your voice and cultural roots?
I don't feel that I've ever like not been a part of I've never felt like I was ashamed to be Kon Lao. I have always loved the Lao culture. Growing up as a kid, the temple was a few blocks away, but I was very much involved in the Lao community as a kid, going to takbad, with my grandma or like by pen. And I did a lot of community service. I would get involved in washing dishes, at the temple. When I was a kid, I did do Lao dance. So actually searching out your community, right? Like belonging to your community. Like if you look around, there's lots of ways through church. For us, it was through the Buddhist temple, right? And if you're not religious, it's the Lao Community Cultural Center. Like we had all of that. So we're very lucky as Lao to have all those resources. I want to say when I hit about 32 years old, I said, I really want to go back to Horton. Like I want to give back to where I grew up. I want to give back to the community where I grew up in. I want to work with Lao children, but they weren't in my classroom because I was teaching in Spanish in the Spanish Immersion program. so guess what I did? I taught my Spanish speaking students how to dance
I love it.
Yes, I did. I had an after school club. I taught them how to dance like the Salawan dance, and we got to practice it. We got to perform it at Lao New Year. So I did a whole Lao New Year thing.
Yeah.
But at the end, we had my Mexican students dancing and wearing the beautiful costumes, the traditional Lao costumes that my mom brought and like put them in, in a beautiful performance. And then we did like Lamvong, my cousins did a dance. And then we also had a fashion show. We had a potluck. My Mexican students and the Lao students at the school and the Lao community, we came together and we ate together, we danced together. And what is it all about, right? It's all about blending cultures. It's all about sharing our cultures. It's about you open yourself up to language. You open yourself up to the world. Am I right? Okay, so I did that. And then I also started to get involved with the Lao Community Cultural Center. When I was 32, I wanted to give back by teaching and preserving Lao writing, Lao culture, Lao speaking. And I tried. I tried. I remember really hard. People were not interested. Like
Really?
And it was very disheartening for me because we came together every
Yeah.
week and we had a handful of students that wanted to learn. And the ones that did want to learn, like they didn't stick to it.
Oh, that's a shame.
It's sad, right?
It's sad to hear that. Now things are a lot more accessible in
Mhm.
terms of culture, language learning. I hope that people will consider learning Lao and keeping that alive.
Nothing's ever too late. It's never too late for us to reclaim our language, Lili. It's
That's so,
never it's never too late for us to
yeah.
improve our vocabulary, to write more fluently or read more fluently. For me, I love music. I would force myself to write the lyrics in Lao. You know, you're making yourself work a different part of your brain, right? And also,
Yeah.
if you're learning the music anyways, you might as well work on not writing it phonetically in English, but write it in Lao because I have enough like experience with it to be able to do that. So it's
Yeah.
not over for us.
When did you first feel disconnected to your native tongue or culture?
When I was a volunteer with LCC, Language Lao Community Culture Center,
Mhm.
I was an MC for the beauty pageant. I had thought I spoke Lao. I thought I knew a lot of Lao. When I got up like on that stage and when I was talking to people in general, I'm like, wait, how do you say that? How do you say this? Like I was kind of like, oh, I'm a little embarrassed, you know, like, and
Yeah.
I remember my co-host and she said to me, you can say it in English, you know, and I was like, no, you know? So, but that was the first time I realized that I didn't know as much Lao as I thought I did. But that doesn't mean that we can't take on the language learning. We can
That's
improve.
doesn't mean it stops there. I
It
love that.
doesn't.
So I'd love for you to share with our listeners, if they could take a key message, a truth, an affirmation, anything that you want the listeners to take with them. What would that be?
It's never too late to learn a language, an instrument, anything that you want to learn. It's never too late. It doesn't matter how old you are.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Can you share like who and what has inspired you to like reconnect to your language or culture?
Like I don't feel like I've ever really stepped away. The one thing that keeps me wanting to get better at the language is music. I want to learn all the songs in Lao. Through music, you also can learn quite a lot about the Lao culture. Have you ever really listened to like Lao music? Like I'm talking about like the old classics.
It's beautiful, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And I love listening to it because I just remember my dad would play music and it just reminds me of those days. And
Mm-hmm.
what are your memories with listening to loud music?
I joined a band in my early 30s. I
Uh-huh.
literally was at an event and there was a band playing called Numpakok Sin. And
Uh-huh.
I was like, oh, that's cool. I want to do that. And so I literally walked up to the manager and was like, hey, can I join your band? And
Awesome is that?
actually, he said, you have to come and try out. We have a
Okay.
gig tomorrow night. When can you come?
Yeah.
So I came with some tracks.
Yeah.
I sang a song or two. Then I was in the band. These songs were written like so long ago, but they're really beautiful. Like they're not just about love. They're like about like Lao and its regions and its beauty. So that's like one way I've kind of like connected to my culture. Language really is beautiful and amazing, and it does bring us like close together.
If you could share a quote, a lyric, proverb, or any kind of personal mantra that speaks to identity or voice or belonging, what would that be?
You don't have to be fluent to belong.
Oh, I love that. You've just listened to Rooted in Becoming, brought to you by GoldTree Co. I want to thank my guest, Faith Stevens, for sharing her story and reminding us that language is more than words. It's memory, identity, and connection. Faith's journey shows us that reclaiming the language we once silenced is not about perfection. It's about presence, courage, and coming home to ourselves. As you reflect on today's conversation, I invite you to ask yourself, Where have I lost my language? The words, expressions, or parts of myself I was told to hide? And what might it sound like to speak to them again with pride? If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who may need a reminder that their voice in any tongue is sacred. To support this work, subscribe, leave a review, or connect with me on social media at GoldTree Co. In our next episode, we'll explore the cost of being the good daughter, unpacking perfectionism, obligation, and the journey of reclaiming worth beyond roles and expectations. Until then, remember, you are rooted and becoming. Stay resilient, stay radiant, and always worthy beyond measure. This is Lei Lei, and I'll see you next time. Before we close, I'd love to share a few moments that didn't make the main episode, but were simply too heartfelt to leave behind. Faith takes us back to her recent trip to Laos, walking through the village where she grew up, this time hand in hand with her son, a full circle moment of memory, pride, and healing. Faith also opens up about her lifelong journey with body image and eating disorders, sharing how cultural expectations and pressures shaped her sense of self and how she's learning to find compassion for her body today. And finally, our favorite memories, a tender glimpse of us growing up together, filled with laughter and that cousin bond that's carried us through every season of life. These moments remind us that belonging isn't only about language, it's about coming home to every part of ourselves, past and present. I hope you enjoy them as much as I do. Thank you. Yeah, I think growing up, my kids, we had put them in Chinese school. I wish the Lao school was available at the time, or if it were available, I think it was just kind of farther away at the time. Nathan ended up continuing on within Spanish, and Grace continued, I think, through the end of high school with Chinese. Whenever I go to China, I'll have to bring Grace with me. And then with Spanish, it's actually what was wonderful with Nathan, he took Spanish in college as well. And he did a study abroad in Costa Rica.
Love it. We got to do some traveling together.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
I want to take you back to Laos.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I want to take a trip to Laos with you.
That would be amazing. Oh my goodness. So you've gone a couple times, one with a bunch of friends and then one with your family. What were the differences in terms of places that you toured? Going back to Laos must have been a huge cathartic experience and all of that for you.
Yes, it was wonderful. So like the first time I went back to Laos, I actually went with a group of girlfriends. And being a girls' trip, it's very different. We did a lot of things. Like we did 2 nights in Bangkok, and then we would do 2 nights in Gautam. Where did we go? Khao Song, which is absolutely fantastic. Flew to Vientiane, and then we took the train into Luang Prabang. Those are like mainly touristy places, but it was the first time back and I got to experience that. And it was surreal just to be able to speak the language, right? Like it was just so beautiful there. Like I just really want you to go. Like someday I want you to go. The people are beautiful. One of the things that I really remember is just walking down the night market. I needed a hat, so I bought a hat. And the hat was like $4. So I just gave her $5. I said, keep the change. The lady was so appreciative of a dollar. And I said, what? It's $1. I said, like, what can you buy for like $1? And she's like, 2 bottles of beer, want some? And so then she pulled me into the back. Yeah. And I sat down and had beers with them. Oh, and I don't, and like dinner or whatever they were, and I didn't eat, but like, I just like their hearts are so beautiful, like it's so generous. I mean, those were the people that I met. Like they were just like really kind people. And that was the part that I loved. Like it wasn't the touristy parts that I love so much, but it was like the people, right? Our people. So the second time that I went back with my husband and my children. My goal was to have my husband go back and see what life is like in that part of the world. And if he could live there during retirement years. Because I think about that, I think about do I want to go and live my retirement out there?
Right.
So we went, and this time we did it differently. We booked an Airbnb
Mhm.
and we had a home base in
Mhm.
Bangkok. The
Yeah.
plan was we're going to do whatever we want to do. Having relatives there helps, right? Like
Yes.
seeing relatives there. And my uncle, Nabal Po, he has a daughter in Thailand, and he wanted me to send money to her. Because I was there, I decided to go ahead and take it to my cousin and meet her for the first time. So, you know, budget, right? You take the whole family, it's going to cost more.
Yeah.
So I decided to just take one of my kids with me. So I decided Tyler was going to be the one. We literally like flew to Mukdahan, which is where I lived after we had crossed the Mekong River for a little bit before we went into the refugee camp. I went to see my cousin and I met her, and that was surreal because I've heard about her all my life, and gave, you know, the money that her dad had sent. And she took us around, and that was really cool. My cousin took me into Laos. Well, she dropped me off at the border, and then we took a bus. My son and I took a bus into Laos, and it was where I was born.
Uh-huh.
And so we crossed over. On the other side, an uncle of mine met us. And
Mhm.
yeah, it was so cool to just to be able to connect again. Like I
Yeah.
hadn't seen him since I was 19, right?
Yeah.
And they took us around everywhere. They took us to eat at a really nice restaurant, and the people knew my mom. And
Mhm.
then they took us me to Bantasano, and Bantasano was where I was born. And basically, everyone in that neighborhood or like that town, they're all related. We're all related, right? They took me to their house that they built,
Yeah.
but then they also took me down to the house where that land where I was born. To see my great grandmother's house still look the way that it would have looked when I
Yeah.
was born, that
Yeah.
was very interesting. You know, just going down that whole street and just
Oh,
kind of like imagining what life would have been like, you know, if I would have stayed there.
I'm sure. And how surreal that must have felt. But then you had your son with you.
My grandmother just passed, right?
Mhm.
So his great grandmother passed in 2018. So
Mhm.
lucky him, right? He got to see his great grandma.
Beautiful. What a great experience to have with your one of your kids, at
Yes.
least I long for that for sure. And we'll create new memories. We
I want
will.
that for you. I want you to take your kids back and create that. And the next time that I go back, I actually want to take the whole entire family so that they can see like our roots. Crossing that river on a bus literally took 5 minutes. An uncle of mine met us. This is an uncle that I had spent time with when I was in France. When I was studying in Spain for 4 months in 1995. And it was another really surreal experience to
Oh,
know that he had retired and moved back to Laos. And
mhm.
yeah, it was so cool to just to be able to connect again. Like I
Yeah.
hadn't seen him since I was 19, right? Like I was
Mhm.
19 when I was studying in Spain. And then
Mhm.
when I met him again, I was 50. And guess what was the first thing he said to me?
No, no.
Yes, he did. That was the first thing out of his mouth.
Folks who are listening and
Yeah.
just don't understand loud. I mean,
Yeah.
why are
Why are you
you,
so fat?
yeah, why are you so fat? It's,
So, you
you
know,
know,
and that was there's just again being 50 years old at that time. I was like, I just laughed, just like I'm laughing with you because it's just so loud. It's like it's
yeah.
so loud, you know, like that's so much the culture of like our that generation, right? They think out loud, right? And so going anywhere to around any auntie, any adults, if you've gained a few pounds, they will straight up tell you why you so fat. Or like you'll have like pimples on your face. Like, Ila, I'm gonna like, why are you so ugly? You know?
I can very much relate.
Body shaming is very real in our culture, but they don't understand that it's body shaming. But I wanted to talk about that because growing up that way, constantly being told how chubby I was, it was
Yeah.
hard. It was really hard on the self esteem. You know, I developed a lot of like eating disorders, body
Mhm.
dysmorphia, all of that. That's just the culture. Like, they're not trying to be rude or mean. That's just the way they were brought up. What we can do, however, is we don't pass it down to our own children, and we don't body shame them, and we teach them that it's not okay to body shame others, you know, and there's
Absolutely.
absolutely nothing wrong with therapy. And I know there's a whole stigma in our culture as well, right? Like with therapy.
I mean, so I grew up with that. I grew up with also the color of your skin. I remember going to the Asian markets and they have like whitening cream to whiten to bleach your face essentially. I saw it impact folks for sure.
As far as like mental health and having therapy as a like as a support, would you say that that's something that has been stigmatized in our culture?
Folks are very dismissive. I think emotions tend to be just, they tend to dismiss your emotions and how you're feeling. There's really no like mental sick day. These days, though, yes, I'm very pro, go find someone to talk to, try to work through issues with a therapist. And because I feel like we just don't, as a society, we don't practice it enough. So we don't have the wherewithal or the tools because we didn't grow up with it and because people were dismissive. What do you think?
Having gone through some eating disorders from the
Mhm.
age of like 13 to, I don't know, even into my late teens, there was a family that I got really close to. And the mom, her name was Pat, she became like a second parent to me. It was through her that I was able to get a lot of the support that I needed to be able to kind of deal with all my feelings. They had discovered that I had developed some eating disorders. My parents trusted them like 100%. They took me to the doctor, and then they took me to therapy, and they basically provided the resources that I needed to
Mhm.
be able to get well. I was really thankful for them. At
Mhm.
13, my mom said to me, "Oh, you think you're fat? Okay, well, I'll just go and talk to a doctor." And so she took my picture to a doctor,
Mhm.
and the doctor said I didn't need any liposuction. But my mom was like trying to solve the problem
Mhm.
by like trying to see if I can get liposuction. Like, that's
Wow.
how she was thinking she
Yeah.
was helping me. Like, she
Yeah.
didn't know how to talk to me or help me through that. That was the best she could do. That
Right.
was her loving me. Like, if we would have had access to mental health services,
Mhm.
maybe we wouldn't have fallen into, gang violence as a result of wanting to belong.
I 100% agree with you on that. I always loved it when we would go visit down at market because
Mhm.
growing up, I'm like, I would get to see you guys. And life got busy and we just kind of reconnected. Wanted to hear from you if you
Mhm.
had a fond memory that you wanted to share.
It's interesting, right? Like, back then we didn't have like instant anything, right? We just sat and we just had conversations. Like, it's all about the feelings, right? You might not remember every single moment that happened
Right.
with a clear picture, but you remember the
Yeah.
feelings you had. My sister and I wanted to Lao dance. There was a talent show coming up. And
Yeah.
so my mom reached out to your mom, and like the said
Mhm.
she would teach us. And so we would go spend the weekends at your house, and they taught us for like several weekends. I remember those were good times. And I remember that you guys would take us to, we would walk down to the swap meet,
Yeah.
and we would get cotton candy. And
Do.
okay,
Cotton
and
candy and then just all the like junk food, like there's like ice, yeah, there's like everything there that you can get.
in Nooney's podcast, you guys were
Oh,
talking about Thrifty's ice cream. I want to say I experienced 50s ice cream the first time with you guys because I want to say you guys took us.
Yeah.
And I want to say that coconut pineapple was a flavor that you had introduced to us.
Oh
And
my, did you
yeah,
like
that I love it. So every time I go to 50s, I always think of coconut pineapple. I remember you guys came down to my 18th birthday party. I had a big, big party. Like it was like a wedding, like a Lao wedding. But I was the
uh,
first to graduate from high school and going
uh-huh.
off to college. And the family had to make a huge deal out of it. So they did. And then I remember also we went to Disneyland and we went for the whole day. We went with several people. You like we there were pictures. Remember those little pictures?
Oh,
And then
like
you
they
can look
keep
through the
looking like in
hole.
the, yeah.
Yeah. So you gave
The
me one of those.
little keychain things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that. Oh my goodness.
That was fun. Good
That was
times.
fun. Good times. Well, every just when I see you, it's just like you said, it's the feeling that the person leaves. Or my childhood with you is just like you said, fond memories. So grateful for you. And I'm so grateful that we are still connected and we're still in the same city. And there's no reason why we can't continue to learn together and grow together.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Oh my goodness. Thank you so, so much for being part of episode 2, The Language of Belonging, Faith. I love you
Thank
so
you.
much.
I love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for staying until the end of the episode. At GoldTree Co, we believe anyone can start building wealth with intention. With as little as $500, you can step into real estate angel investing, gaining access to vetted opportunities normally reserved for big players. This is about more than returns. It's about creating stability today, freedom tomorrow, and a legacy that lasts for generations. Your money works for you while you focus on what matters most. Ready to grow with us? Visit goldtreeco.com and book your complimentary meeting with me now. And let's plant seeds of wealth together. Please follow and subscribe at GoldTree Co. Stay rooted and becoming and worthy beyond measure.